So I had a comment on one of my Facebook shorts where I talked about that still small voice that we hear on the inside of us as being our own subconscious and higher self. And the person had made a comment on it, kind of stating and insisting that that voice was a different voice from their voice, and that kind of to make the point that it is a voice, a separate voice of God, separate from themselves. And of course, that is what our human mind will believe and perceive, because the mind can only function in concepts of separation in this dimension here. But when you trace back, first of all, you have to establish who you are. Who are you? Are you the physicality of your body? Or are you the spirit essence of your soul? That has to be clear first. Who and what you identify as. If you identify as the physical body, then of course only that which is detectable with your five senses is going to be your reality, and it's going to be your only truth, your verifiable truth. But if you identify yourself as the invisible part that is your spirit and your soul, which in essence is God, because spirit is God, and there is only one spirit and there is only one God, and you being that essence, captured by the identity of your soul, are that God. You are that source God. And so if you can just project yourself for a moment outside of your physical body and focus in on your soul essence. If you trace that back far enough to the beginning, you will realize, at least you should realize, that as you approach the origin of your essence, you're realizing that it is Source, God, essence. It's God. God is the origin of your essence. It's not a separate created thing. What is created is your physical body, which is temporal. But your soul is that eternal spirit that never dies, had no beginning, has no ending. And it traces right back to Source, or the bosom of God, if I use anatomical language for it. But God doesn't have a bosom, but you get the idea. It comes right out of the center of God. And there is no separation. Since you're not a created being, you are simply a manifestation of Creator Source. And that's why I say that the voice, the small voice you hear within yourself, is the voice of God. It's the voice of your soul essence, your spirit. It's not separate from you, and you should not separate yourself from that just because you are more aware of your physicality and you can't imagine that God would take on this physicality. But we know the story of Jesus in the Bible, where it says the Word became flesh That's the whole story about Jesus incarnating as God taking on flesh. The only thing that was not made clear from those scriptures is that you and me also are the Word made flesh, just like Jesus. So God is having an incarnation in the form of these physical bodies. And not only our physical bodies, but everything that has manifested in form, like the tree behind me, is also God manifesting as a tree. The life essence is in everything that we see. It says in the scriptures, I don't know the reference, but it says that God is in all things, through all things, and on all things. The Bible mistranslated the last part, the on part, by saying over all things, but over implies a separateness, that something is over of something below. So it's not true. But if you look in the Greek, there are alternative words, and the proper word for over should have been on all things. So God is not separate from the creation. God is the manifestation of everything visible. And so, but our mind likes to categorize and separate everything out and call uh, distinction to everything. And in doing so, it creates the illusion of separateness. So, back to the initial opening comment, the still small voice that you're hearing within yourself is you as your higher self. If you imagine your higher self, your soul, being the spirit bubble outside of your human, and that is what you hear. And that soul that is outside of your human is the infinite God.